There's a version of the past, and then there's the version people tell later when they need it to be different. And at the Season 20 tell-all, Robyn Brown gave us a masterclass in the second kind. Facing the simple, painful fact that Meri doesn't fully trust her, Robyn pushed back with a claim. She insisted she had been loyal to Meri during one of the darkest chapters of Meri's life, the catfishing scandal. In Robyn's telling, she had Meri's back. Her exact sentiment, by the reporting, was that she had Meri's back through all of it. And a whole lot of longtime fans heard that and thought, wait, that is not how I remember it at all. So tonight, let's do something careful and fair. Let's put Robyn's claim next to the record, and let's ask the real question. Is Robyn remembering the past, or is she rewriting it? First, let me handle the catfishing itself with the respect it deserves, because at the center of this is a real woman who was genuinely hurt. Years ago, Meri became involved in an online relationship with someone she believed was a man interested in her. That person turned out to be a deception. Meri was catfished. She was the victim of a cruel manipulation, and she had to endure the fallout publicly, on television, in front of the entire country. I want to be clear about that framing before we go a single step further. Meri was not foolish. She was wronged. Anyone can be deceived by someone who sets out to deceive them, and the appropriate response to a person in that situation is compassion, not judgment. That's the lens we're using tonight. Now, here's why this matters for the trust question between Meri and Robyn. At the tell-all, Sukanya Krishnan was pressed on the fact that Meri carries distrust toward Robyn, and rather than simply sit with that, rather than acknowledge that Meri's feelings are Meri's to have, Robyn reportedly responded by asserting her own loyalty, essentially saying Meri has no reason to distrust her because she, Robyn, had Meri's back, including during the catfishing period. On its surface, that sounds like a defense of a friendship, but listen to what it actually does. It takes Meri's feelings and tells her they're unfounded. It says, in effect, you shouldn't feel the way you feel because I was actually a great friend to you. And that is a very particular move. Because here's the thing about telling someone their distrust is unjustified. You don't actually get to decide that for another person. Trust is built or broken through 1,000 small moments, many of them private, many of them felt rather than filmed. If Meri doesn't trust Robyn, that distrust came from somewhere, from Meri's lived experience of their relationship. For Robyn to wave that away by insisting she was loyal isn't reassurance. It's a kind of overruling. It's telling the wronged party that their own reading on their own life is simply wrong. And that, ironically, might be one of the very things that eroded the trust in the first place. So let's get to the heart of it. Did Robyn have Meri's back during the catfishing? And here's where I have to be honest and careful at the same time. I can't show you Robyn's private heart during that period. None of us can. What I can tell you is that a great many fans who watched that era unfold remember it very differently from how Robyn now describes it. The general sense among longtime viewers was that Meri, during her lowest and most humiliating chapter, did not feel fully embraced and supported by the family. That's the fans' recollection. Now, fan recollection is not the same as documented fact, and I want to flag that clearly. But when a person's claim of loyalty clashes this sharply with how thousands of careful viewers remember things, that gap is worth examining. And this is the crucial distinction I want you to hold on to, because it's where fairness lives. There's a difference between what Robyn felt and what Meri experienced. It's entirely possible that Robyn genuinely believes she was supportive. People usually remember themselves as the good guy in their own story. Robyn may sincerely feel that in her heart, she was on Meri's side. But Meri's distrust suggests that whatever Robyn felt internally, it didn't land as support for Meri. And both of those can be true at once. Robyn can have felt loyal, and Meri can have felt unsupported, because feeling loyal and showing up in a way someone else can feel are two very different things. The breakdown isn't necessarily a lie. It might be the gap between intention and impact. But let me steelman the more skeptical reading too, because it's on the table, and it's what a lot of the audience is thinking. The skeptical reading is that this is revisionism, plain and simple. That Robyn, faced with Meri's distrust and a tell-all audience, reached for a flattering version of the past that recasts her as the loyal friend, whether or not that version holds up. In this reading, the catfishing claim isn't a sincere memory. It's a strategic narrative, deployed to deflect Meri's grievance and protect Robyn's image. And the reason this reading has traction is timing. Robyn is making this loyalty claim at the exact moment she most needs to be seen as the loyal one, as the family fractures and the money disputes pile up. When a flattering memory surfaces precisely when it's most useful, skeptics are right to raise an eyebrow. I think the most honest position is to hold both readings and let you decide, because I genuinely can't read Robyn's mind. What I can say is that the claim deserves scrutiny rather than acceptance, precisely because it's being used to dismiss someone else's legitimate feelings. If Robyn had said, "I'm sorry Meri feels that way, I always tried to be a good friend, but I understand if I fell short," that would be gracious. Instead, the framing reportedly was closer to, "Meri has no reason to distrust me." And that harder framing is what turns a sympathetic claim into something fans are right to push back on. It's not just nostalgia. It's nostalgia weaponized to invalidate. Let me zoom out and talk about why this particular move is so revealing about the whole family dynamic. Because rewriting history, or at least remembering it very favorably, may be one of the load-bearing habits of this entire family. For years, the Browns told us a story about equal love, about a unified family, about a chosen lifestyle that worked. And piece by piece, that story has come apart, revealing favoritism, financial imbalance, and broken relationships underneath. So when Robyn stands up and offers a flattering revision of the catfishing era, she's not doing something out of character for the family. She's doing the family's signature move. Tell the version that makes the present easier to live with, even if it doesn't match what people actually experienced. And here's what makes it especially poignant in Meri's case. Meri has spent this entire late chapter of the show finally telling the truth as she experienced it. About the money, about her place in the family, about how she really felt all those years. She's been reclaiming her own narrative. So for Robyn to respond to Meri's hard-won honesty by essentially saying, "No, the past was actually fine. I was a great friend," is to step on exactly the thing Meri has been fighting to assert. It's not just a disagreement about history. It's one woman insisting on her version of the past at the precise moment another woman is finally daring to tell her own. And that collision is the real drama here. There's a deeper psychological truth worth naming, which is that we are all the heroes of our own memories. It's not unique to Robyn. Human memory is not a recording. It's a story we tell ourselves, and we tend to edit it, often unconsciously, to protect our own image. So it's entirely possible Robyn isn't lying in any deliberate sense. She may have genuinely reconstructed the past in a way where she was the loyal friend, because that's a more comfortable past to inhabit than one where she fell short. But here's the problem with that, even at its most innocent. When your comfortable memory directly contradicts another person's painful one, and you insist on yours, you're not just protecting yourself, you're overwriting them. And the person being overwritten, in this case, is the one who was already wronged once. Let me talk about what Meri's distrust actually tells us, because I think it's the most reliable piece of evidence in this whole thing. Meri is not a dramatic person. She's not someone who manufactures grievances for screen time. She spent years being the loyal, patient, hopeful wife. So when a woman like that arrives, after all this time, at a place of genuine distrust toward Robyn, that distrust is data. It didn't come from nowhere. It's the residue of real experience. And it's far more believable to me that Meri's steady, hard-earned distrust reflects something true than that it's an unfair grudge Robyn can simply dismiss by claiming she had her back. The wronged party's settled feelings are usually more reliable than the comfortable party's flattering memories. So what do we actually do with all this? I think we resist the urge to declare a simple verdict because the truth here is genuinely layered. I don't think Robyn is a cartoon liar. I think she may sincerely believe she was loyal, but I also think Meri's distrust is real and earned, and that Robyn's response to it, dismissing it rather than honoring it, is exactly the kind of move that breaks trust rather than rebuilds it. The catfishing claim isn't important because we can prove or disprove it. It's important because of what it reveals about how these two women relate now. One is trying to tell her truth. The other is insisting on a version that erases it. And that dynamic, more than any single fact about the past, is why this relationship is broken. Here's the question I keep landing on. If Robyn really had Meri's back the way she claims, why doesn't Meri feel it? Because that's the test that cuts through everything. You can claim loyalty all you want, but loyalty is something the other person is supposed to be able to feel. It's received, not just declared. And the fact that Meri, the supposed recipient of all this loyalty, doesn't experience it that way is the loudest evidence we have. Either the loyalty wasn't there, Or it was there, but never translated into anything Meri could feel, which functionally amounts to the same thing. You don't get credit for loyalty the other person never received. So when I look at Robyn's catfishing claim, I don't see a smoking gun, and I don't see a clear villain. I see a woman reaching for a flattering version of a painful past, at a moment when she badly needs to be seen as the loyal one. I see that version colliding head-on with how the wronged party remembers it, and how the audience remembers it. And I see, underneath all of it, the same pattern that runs through this entire family. The habit of telling the story that makes the present easier, even when it overwrites someone else's truth. Whether Robyn is rewriting history deliberately or just remembering herself kindly, the effect is the same. Meri's experience gets denied, and a friendship can't survive one person's comfort being built on the erasure of the other person's pain. Let me talk for a moment about the role the show's editing plays in all of this, because it complicates the memory question in an important way. What we, the audience, remember about the catfishing era is largely what the cameras chose to show us, and how the editors chose to frame it. So when fans say they don't remember Robyn being especially supportive, what they really mean is that the support didn't make it onto the screen in any prominent way. Now, that cuts both ways. Maybe Robyn was supportive in private moments the cameras never captured, or maybe the absence of that support on screen reflects an absence of it in reality. We genuinely can't be certain. But here's what I'd point out. If Robyn had been the steadfast defender of Meri that she now claims to have been, that's exactly the kind of sympathetic, dramatic, relationship-affirming footage a reality show would normally love to highlight. The fact that it isn't a vivid part of the record is at least worth noting. I want to dig deeper into this idea that trust is received, not declared, because it's the philosophical core of the whole disagreement. Imagine a friend who, after a falling out, insists to you, "I was always there for you," but your actual memory is of feeling alone during the hard times. Who's right? In a sense, you both are about different things. Your friend may be right about their intentions. You're right about your experience. But here's the key. When it comes to trust, experience wins. Trust isn't about what someone meant to do. It's about whether you felt safe, supported, and held. And no amount of after-the-fact insistence can retroactively install a feeling of safety that wasn't there at the time. Robyn can declare loyalty until she's out of breath. If Meri didn't feel it, the loyalty, for the purposes of their relationship, did not function. Now, let me genuinely steelman Robyn one more time because fairness demands it, and because the truth is probably kinder than the harshest reading. It's very possible that Robyn, as the newest wife during the catfishing era, was in an incredibly awkward position. She was still relatively new to the family, still finding her footing, possibly unsure how to support a senior wife through a humiliating crisis without overstepping. Maybe she held back not out of disloyalty, but out of uncertainty, and has since reframed that restraint, in her own memory, as a kind of quiet support. That's a very human thing to do. It doesn't make her a monster. It makes her someone who, like all of us, remembers her hesitation more charitably than the person on the receiving end of it does. But here's what would have changed everything, and it's worth spelling out, because it shows how small the gap was between a healing moment and a hurtful one. Imagine if, instead of insisting Meri had no reason to distrust her, Robyn had said something like this. "Meri, I know you don't fully trust me, and I'm sorry for whatever part I played in that. During the catfishing, I cared about you, but maybe I didn't show up the way you needed, and I understand why that left a mark." That response honors Meri's feelings instead of overruling them. It takes responsibility without groveling, and it might actually begin to repair something. The tragedy is that the difference between that healing response and the hurtful one is just a matter of humility. Robyn reached for self-justification when an acknowledgement would have served everyone better. And this is really what the entire tell-all comes down to, when you strip it all away. It's a battle over whose version of the past gets to be the official one. Each member of this family is fighting to establish their narrative as the true one, because the narrative determines who the audience sympathizes with, who looks like the wronged party, and who looks like the one who caused the harm. Robyn's catfishing claim is one move in that larger war. By recasting herself as the loyal friend, she's trying to claim the sympathetic position. The problem is that Meri is sitting right there with her own memory, and the audience is watching with theirs. And a self-serving revision only works if nobody who remembers the truth is in the room. In a tell-all, everybody who remembers the truth is in the room. So in the end, the catfishing claim becomes a kind of perfect symbol for the whole Meri and Robyn relationship. One woman experienced something painful. The other woman remembers it in a way that's easier on herself. And instead of bridging that gap with humility, the more comfortable party tries to close it by insisting her version is correct. That doesn't rebuild trust. It confirms exactly why the trust broke. Because if Robyn can stand at a tell-all years later and tell Meri that her distrust is unfounded, then she's demonstrating in real time the very quality that probably made Meri stop trusting her in the first place. The claim meant to prove Robyn was a good friend may instead be the clearest evidence of why the friendship couldn't survive. So I'll put it to you now, because I really want your honest read. Do you remember Robyn having Meri's back during the catfishing? Or does your memory match the fans who say it didn't happen that way? And here's the bigger question for the comments. Do you think Robyn genuinely believes her own version? Or do you think this was strategic revisionism at a convenient moment? Tell me where you land, because I read every comment and this is exactly the kind of thing where the collective memory of this audience is more powerful than any single account. If you want me to do a careful, respectful timeline of the catfishing era and how the family actually responded at the time, let me know, and I'll build it with the same care we brought tonight. And if you appreciate that we hold claims up to scrutiny instead of just taking them at face value, while still treating everyone as a real human being, then do me a favor and subscribe, because that's exactly the balance we aim for, and there's so much more of this story still to untangle.